Killer is the best movie of 2023 so far, a movie so good I could talk about every tiny little detail about for hours on end, but I've come here to only talk about one. But this one thing is so great, it can be broken down into 3 major parts. But before we get to that, we need to prove why David Fincher is one of the greatest living directors, and we do that with the opening scene.
I think people are perverts.
Fincher is known for many things, but most specifically for his attention to detail. If you do any research on Fincher, you'll probably end up suffocating from all the people saying he does a million takes of scenes, including himself.
People I've never even met complain about how many takes they shoot. The take of Neil Patrick Harris parking that Jaguar dead center in the middle of that frame, that was take 2. So please, go f*** yourselves.
It's a trivia fun fact, much in the same way that Stanley Kubrick mentally abusing Shelley in The Shining is.
Sitting there because they say, wait a minute, and then you say on the radio,
but when you do it, you've got to look desperate, Shelley. You're just wasting everybody's time.
However, this meticulous attitude towards filmmaking is so important for David Fincher's films, and this is definitely the case with The Killer. The opening basically screams, this is why I'm one of the greatest living directors. Michael Fassbender, who is so back, by the way, is doing a job in Paris. His target being an authority of some kind, which isn't super important. He waits, he watches, he gets McDonald's, and he does it again, never uttering a word, only allowing the audience into his headspace through inner monologues. Classic novel-type behavior, which is appropriate considering this is based on a novel. Every shot, every cut, and every moment is sublime filmmaking that easily could have been completely wordless and still have gotten the point across. It's really that good. Fincher doesn't need Michael Fassbender's character to lob a dog off of a balcony to show that he's a cold-blooded man, nor does he need to have a fistfight on a train ending in brutal murder to show that he's good at murder. He simply watches and waits, underlined by a brief explosion of violence followed by a fast-paced getaway. Perfection. So why does this work so well? And what is the one thing I think this does better than every other film this year? 4 words. It takes its time. And we can break that down into 3 major categories, like I said before, but let's start with this one. It takes its sweet time. Like The Killer himself, the film is in no rush. It's so confident in its character and the visuals, it doesn't feel the need to have an explosive opening. No one fights on top of a moving train, the fate of the world hanging in the balance. Michael Fassbender isn't using the Earth's iron to disassemble the world itself. He's just waiting and watching. We see Fassbender slowly and methodically assemble and disassemble a gun, calmly doing yoga, and effortlessly ditching the evidence. Much like how Fincher slowly and methodically plans his lockdown shots, calmly layers in monologues, and effortlessly edits together each new sequence.
Weakness is vulnerability. Each and every step of the way, ask yourself, what's in it for me?
Every movie comes down to 2 things, a setup and a payoff, whether that's in a comedy with a setup to a joke, or in a murder mystery with a murder and then the reveal of who the killer is.
Show me your nuts.
Oh, how you doing? Learn from USA.
Where most other films slip on a banana peel and comically fall on their ass is in the scene-to-scene moments. Nearly every scene in a film should have an interesting setup and a worthwhile payoff, not just the ending. Every single scene. Even if it's as small as a character getting on a plane and getting off. That's a setup with a payoff. If you watch any Tarantino movie, he takes this idea and ratchets it up to 11. The infamous opening to Inglourious Basterds perfectly captures this. The setup, Christoph waltzes into this man's house and figures out, whether he knew it before or not, that this man is hiding Jews in the house. And the payoff being the horrible slaughter of innocent people.
Point out to me the areas where they're hiding.
David Fincher does this exact same type of thing throughout The Killer. The violence we get is often so brief and quick, it's like getting post-nut clarity. You want it so badly, and it's over in a flash, leaving you to wonder what any of these inner monologues by Michael Fassbender even mean.
Forbid empathy. Empathy is weakness.
Again, Fassbender is waiting and watching through the first 20 minutes of the film, setting up the moment when he pulls the trigger on this man. The payoff, though, isn't what we expect, and it sets off the remainder of the film, just like the opening of Inglourious Basterds, or even more on the nose, John Wick. What makes this so great isn't just the setups and payoffs and the time it takes doing the setup and the payoff, it's also Point number 3, how long Fincher's able to hold off said payoff. It's easy to just log into an incognito tab and have a fight scene on a train in the first 2 minutes, if you know what I mean. But it's much more difficult to take a scene out to dinner, show it a good time, and then bring it home for some fun later, if you know what I mean. Fincher slowly and effortlessly does this, setting the table for each new sequence to end in what we know will happen: violence. I mean, he's a killer after all, but Fincher wisely shows us every piece of this process, giving the audience a little bit of foreplay, showing how Fassbender finds people, how he gets into places, where he gets his money, what Amazon drop-off point he uses, what he thinks of creatine, and how he can casually murder someone with no remorse, setting the stage for every scene to have the audience thinking, maybe he won't kill the person this time. And, in almost every single case, he just does.
I find music a useful distraction. A focus tool. Keeps the inner voice from wandering.
With this brutal of a character, Fincher is able to wring out so much tension from so little, despite the often hilarious inner dialogue he has with himself. How is he gonna get out of this next pickle? How is Postmates gonna save him? Who is he gonna kill next? Setup and payoff. Simple? Yes, but very effective. And Fincher is the master of this.